Right now, somewhere, a dog is walking through a park completely naked. And nobody cares. Not the dog, not the other dogs, not the birds watching from the trees. Nobody is embarrassed. Nobody is covering anything up. Nobody is thinking about it at all. But if a human did that, everything would stop. We are the only animal on this planet that looks at its own body and feels shame. Not discomfort, not pain, shame. The specific feeling that something about you, something you were born with, is wrong, is too much, needs to be hidden. Where did that come from? And what does it actually tell us about what we are? Let's start with the biology. Every other animal on Earth has no concept of nakedness, because nakedness requires clothing as a reference point. You can only be naked if you know what dressed looks like. Animals don't have that reference. They exist in one state. There is no other state to compare it to. No gap between what they are and what they're supposed to be. Humans created that gap ourselves. Somewhere between 170,000 and 83,000 years ago, humans started wearing clothes. Not for shame, not for modesty, for warmth, for survival. We moved into colder climates, we needed insulation, and we started covering our bodies. That's the origin. Pure function. A coat made of animal skin because otherwise you freeze. But something happened after that. Something that may be unique in the history of life on Earth. We kept wearing clothes even when it wasn't cold.
And the moment clothing became optional, the body underneath became something that needed to be explained, justified, evaluated. The covered state became the normal state, and the uncovered state became a deviation from normal, something that required a reason. That's when shame entered the picture. But here's where it gets complicated, because body shame isn't just about nudity. It runs deeper than that, much deeper.
In every human culture ever studied, every single one, there are body norms, standards for what a body is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to weigh, what features are attractive, and which are flaws. These norms change wildly across cultures and across history. What was considered beautiful in ancient Egypt was different from Renaissance Europe, which is different from 21st century social media. But the fact of having norms at all, that part is universal. Every culture, without exception, has decided that bodies can be ranked, that some are better than others, that yours might not be enough. No other animal does this. A dog does not look at another dog and feel inadequate. A crow does not develop an eating disorder. A chimpanzee does not lie awake at night wishing its arms were different. These are exclusively human experiences. And the question is why? Part of the answer is self-awareness. We've established in other videos that humans have a uniquely powerful capacity for metacognition, for thinking about ourselves from the outside, for imagining how we appear to others. That ability is extraordinary. It's the foundation of empathy, of art, of everything that makes us human. But it has a cost. The same ability that lets you imagine someone else's perspective also lets you imagine yourself being judged. You can watch yourself from the outside, and sometimes what you see there doesn't measure up to the image you've built in your head. Animals can't do that. A chimpanzee can recognize itself in a mirror, but it cannot imagine a better version of itself that it's failing to be. It has no ideal self, no gap between who it is and who it thinks it should be. That gap is a human invention, and shame lives in that gap. But there's another layer that most people don't consider. Body shame is also social. It doesn't just come from inside you. It comes from the people around you, from the culture you were born into, from the images you were shown before you were old enough to question them. Research consistently shows that body shame is learned. Children don't arrive with it. A 3-year-old has no concept of their body being wrong.
That gets installed later, by comments, by comparisons, by seeing which bodies are celebrated and which ones disappear.
This matters because it means body shame isn't inevitable. It isn't hardwired. It's a cultural product. We built it, which means, theoretically, we can unbuild it. But we haven't. And that's worth asking about, because body shame does something that's hard to give up. It creates hierarchy. It gives people a way to rank each other quickly and efficiently. Bodies become currency. And in a social species obsessed with status, which humans absolutely are, having currency is useful. The people at the top of the hierarchy benefit from a system that tells everyone else their body is a problem to be solved. And so, the system persists. There's a researcher named Paul Gilbert who has spent decades studying shame across cultures. His conclusion? Shame is not primarily about the body at all. It's about belonging. The deepest fear underneath body shame isn't that you look wrong. It's that looking wrong means you'll be rejected, left out, alone. The body is just the surface. The terror underneath is social exclusion, which, for most of human evolutionary history, was a death sentence. So the shame that makes you uncomfortable in your own skin isn't vanity. It isn't weakness. It's an ancient alarm system misfiring in a world it wasn't built for. Your nervous system genuinely cannot tell the difference between social rejection and physical danger. To your brain, being seen as inadequate is a threat, and it responds accordingly. The dog in the park has no such alarm. It walks through the world exactly as it is. No gap between what it is and what it should be. No version of itself it's failing to become. Just a body, moving through the world entirely at home in itself. We used to be like that. We built the cage ourselves, out of clothes, out of culture, out of comparison. And we've been living inside it so long that most of us have forgotten it's a cage at all.